y'all, it is Dewana, and I am coming to you with another video blog. And today I wanted to talk about the subject of sacrifice. And I had to write a few notes down. Yeah, I have my trusty notebook. Okay, so that we can talk about sacrifice today as a special needs parent. Want to know, is it ever too much? Is there ever a point in time where you are sacrificing too much? And how much sacrifice is necessary, right? Within the confines of it being healthy sacrifice. And taking that subject on, I know that from the beginning of time with CJ, I've had to have some level of sacrifice as a parent. And when you're a parent, anyway, you have to sacrifice some desires. You may even change the trajectory of life in order to provide or give your children the time or the resources that you deem is necessary. But as a special needs parent, there is an added level of sacrifice that is required. And with sacrifice, and I'm going to write this down, with sacrifice is almost selflessness comes with that. And so there's sacrifice and selflessness when it comes to being a special needs parent, but it's almost like it's on steroids, right? That level is on steroids. And so as CJ has gone through life from infancy until today, I've had to make several sacrifices. One being in my career path. I originally wanted to be an attorney. And when I was pregnant with CJ, I was actually accepted to law school. And once he had the medical challenges, I opted not to go. I did not think that was the lifestyle for me, given his dire medical needs. At that time, I decided to be an entrepreneur and to work from home. And that sacrifice has continued. I've tried to go work in a typical 9-to-5 years back, but I quickly learned that that was not the environment for me. So I sacrificed that career goal. But fortunately, I was blessed to find something that suited me even more so in entrepreneurship. And it was actually a better fit. So that was my first lesson in sacrifice. I also, through the years, had to financially sacrifice what I wanted because maybe CJ needed maybe medical assistance or therapy or extra supplies to take care of him at home, adaptive equipment, all of these things. So I had to sacrifice my financial wants for his needs. And so I got the concept of sacrifice very early on with this, new crown, right, that we are given as a special needs parent. And it hasn't stopped. I mean, even when I am tired and I'm exhausted, I have to give. When CJ is needing my help or CJ wants something at some odd time of night where typically most kids are asleep, but since he has insomnia or has his schedule backwards, he may need something. There is a level of sacrifice. I have to get up. I have to attend to that need. And so I've grown accustomed to it as an individual. And through most of the journey, I've been a single parent. I've had times where I've had someone to assist, but I've been a single parent for most of the journey. And so it was easy for me to just make that sacrifice. Um, and I don't even deem it like catering to CJ's needs. It's what was necessary for his care, his level of care. It's just what the baseline is. You have a special needs child, they're going to need additional assistance, additional help. You know that. It takes some adjustment, but then you quickly learn, yep, that's what I have to do. So, but does there ever come a point where it's too much? As an individual, as a parent, is there a point where you sacrifice so much that you give up your well being? And I would say yes. I've had times in this span of CJ's life where I may have almost given too much to the point of sacrificing myself and my health. And that's where you have to learn a balance between the two. I got to a point where I wasn't even taking care of myself. I didn't care what I was dressing like. Didn't care what I was eating. It just became about CJ. And as you've heard in other videos, when he was younger, I had panic attacks. It just got overwhelming. I had points in time where I said, you know what, I don't want anybody's help. It just seems like it's too hard to get anybody's help. Nobody wants to do it. I'm just going to do it all. I'm just going to do it all by myself. And the load got heavy. So there is a point where you need to know what's healthy sacrifice and what's unhealthy sacrifice. But then I want to transition to when you have a life partner or when you're married and you have the marital vows and the commitment you've made to your spouse, but you also have this category of sacrifice that you need to make for your special needs child. And this can go either way. Mother or father can both be met with this challenge of sacrifice. And so in that context of marriage, where you need to give to your spouse, but you also have to give in abundance, more and above the average parent, to your child, then how do you balance that? And I would like to know. I want to hear feedback of how do you balance that? I don't have all the answers. So how do you balance the needs of the child? Because we often say too that, as parents, that is your job. You've decided to have kids and you've taken on this role of parent and you're there to nurture, care for. And then when your child has special needs, you still are needed in that area, but maybe tenfold. Then how do you balance that with your spouse having their needs met and then your child having their needs met? What's a healthy balance? Is there ever a point where you're giving to everyone else and then no one wins because maybe you feel like your child's still not getting what they need because you have to put time over here. Your spouse feels like they're not getting what they need. And then you as an individual feel like you're not getting what you need. How do you balance that? So in your own personal lives, how have you found balance between caring for your child with special needs and then also loving and caring for your spouse? And now, I think it's maybe, I wouldn't say it's an easier concept when the married couple are the biological parents of the child with special needs, because still some biological parents have that struggle with sacrifice, right? Anyone can have that struggle with sacrifice. But let's add another layer. Say you are a father who has a special needs child and you're the sole caretaker or primary caretaker and you marry a woman who is not accustomed to this lifestyle or vice versa. You're a woman who's the sole and primary caretaker for your child with special needs, and you marry a man who is not accustomed to life as a special needs parent. What is the process to get that parent who is marrying into the situation to understand the level of sacrifice? What is the thing that you, as the primary caregiver who's used to sacrifice, what is your role in balancing the two, right? Because you can't also necessarily think that your spouse is not going to want time and attention. So how do you balance it? I would love advice, recommendations, so that all of us can learn from this, so that individuals can learn about healthy and unhealthy sacrifice. Married couples can learn about sacrifice, and those who are marrying into a situation where there's a special needs kid, how can those two parents deal with sacrifice and where it's a healthy balance, right, of loving your spouse, loving and caring for your child, and meeting those needs that are very specific and tenfold, and then also caring for yourself. That's a hard balance. And I found through my lifetime that it is a very hard balance that I have not figured out, quite honestly. I'm going to give my perspective is that I think that the two parents who understand sacrifice and are all in with caring for the child, and if that's hard to be at the same level of sacrifice, but if they are at the same or close levels of sacrifice, then they understand. They understand the situation, and through them working together to care for the child, they are able to find some closeness, some love for each other, some respect for each other through that mission, through that purpose that they were given and that responsibility that they were given. That's just my take on it. I think if you are understanding of the level of sacrifice, as long as it's a, healthy sacrifice of you're doing the things that are necessary to care for your child and care for them to the best of your ability, then when you two, as a married couple, understand that level of sacrifice and say, hey, let's give our child the best. Let's do what we can. Let's do this together and in love. Then I find that there's a closeness that only you two share. And you're nurtured and you're fed through that role and responsibility to care for this beautiful child. So that's my take. But I know that everyone has had their own experiences, own challenges, and I would love to hear your feedback on that topic. Because, like I said, I want to know. I want to know too. Look, I am not sitting on this camera as the guru. No. I want to bring up topics where we all kind of give feedback and learn from one another. This is a learning community, right? So I want to know, how do you do it? If you have a secret to success in that area of sacrifice, then let a sister know, because I really would like to know this one. And it's just something that's been on my brain, because I am naturally a person who is a giver, a nurturer, full on mommy mode for so many years. And, I'm newly married, so it's a learning process, a learning curve. So this is almost like it's a personal question, but it's also something that I think a lot of couples go through. I think a lot of individuals go through because I've seen a lot of my special needs parents that I'm close to give and give and give to the point that their health is deteriorating. They are mentally and emotionally spent. They are tired, exhausted. Their spirits are exhausted. And they just give and give and give. And some it's hard because they may not have the resources or the family or friends to help them or aid them in the process. So what do you do on that? But there has to be a healthier balance. Has to be a healthier balance of sacrifice. And so I would love to get your feedback in the comments below. If you're catching the video on YouTube, comment below, tell your story. And I would love to hear answers. If you want to send a video response, you can even do that. And send it to me at info@specialshadesofcolor.org. You can send a video response. I will post it. And let's talk. Let's talk about that area of sacrifice. Is it ever too much? So once again, keep tuning in. We're going to talk more on some subjects. And this is our midnight conversation because it's after midnight. And I'm filming, okay? We're going to call it Midnight Conversations. How about that? That's what we'll do. All right then. Bye.